Okay, I'm going to show you proof of a massive HAARP attack out in the Pacific on this big low pressure, and also proof that this is being used to prevent snowpack from falling in the Sierra Nevada. In other words, to prevent irrigation water from being available for the summer of 2015 in the Central Valley and for the cities such as Los Angeles. So this is a very, very big issue, and this is actual proof. First, this is actually December 2nd, 1900 Zulu. I just want to show this up front because this is proof of the HAARP downburst on top of this massive low pressure. What we see here is there's several of these centers of low pressure, and right here is clockwise movement. And this is a massive low pressure that extends from sea level all the way up into the jet stream. It is physically impossible to have this clockwise movement right here of these clouds. You can see right here, this cloud is moving counter to everything else. And I'm going to go through this sequentially next. Let me zoom one more time and just mark this. You can see clearly these clouds are going counter. Here's the low pressure, here's low pressure, and yet these clouds are going clockwise. And here's the familiar hole being burned by the HAARP transmitter. That they transmit in one spot for so long, you actually see a hole build up. Let me go back to the beginning now, and I'm going to show you, no, actually, let me just jump right ahead and show you this evidence. The proof that the Sierra Nevadas have a descending air being pressed down on top of them. Well, anyway, here's the relative humidity map for December 3rd, 12 Zulu. You can see over California there's this pocket of dry air. That's at sea level. 5,000 feet, it's still there. And now if we go to the vertical velocity map, sea level, and this is, again, December 3rd, 16 Zulu. So this is 4 hours later. We have this very odd, powerful downdraft of air. Gray is falling air, and pink and yellow is rising air, or storminess. And here's 850 Zulu. That's 5,000 feet. We expect to see some storminess as this big low pressure comes on shore. Here is 700 millibar, which is 10,000 feet altitude. That falling air is still there. Now the kicker. This is amazing if my browser will work. 500 millibar. This is 18,000 feet altitude. We see this absolutely powerful sinking zone of air centered right on top of these mountains, this water reservoir. Someone is deliberately pressing dry air down on top to prevent any precipitation. And I believe there's a SBX Haarp transmitter in Northern California and also one on the Nevada border. And let me show you this evidence. It's going to be, well, first just look at the Central Valley itself and the importance of it. I'm not a Californian, so this was interesting to me. This Central Valley is the best farmland in the world pretty much because of the climate. But they've got to have water from this snowpack up here in the Sierra Nevada. And you can see all these rivers and irrigation canals, and this irrigation water even goes south to Los Angeles. So this preventing snowpack up in these mountains is an act of genocide, and the people responsible should be found, arrested, and put on trial for this. I've got to find my other picture here. Okay, well, during this HAARP downburst that was happening out in the Pacific, on the next rad there was a very peculiar artifact, which I believe can only come from a big powerful microwave transmitter. Okay, in Northern California we see this, it's a void, a stripe where there's no energy being reported by the radar. That's because the next rad operator has been told, okay, we're transmitting down here, now hide this energy that we're putting out. So there is very likely an SBX transmitter in this area here. Also, on the Nevada border, we see another stripe here. So there's going to be a giant white golf ball, or brown, who knows, on the top of a mountain in this area. Let me show you some close-ups. Okay, here's the northern California stripe. And it's sort of pointing to this area between Chico and Ponto something, or Porto something. So here's Red Bluff, Chico, Porto, Susanville. Somewhere down in this area, you're going to see a big, probably white ball sitting on the top of a mountain with some big diesel generators or jet turbine generator around it. And that, if it's a jet turbine, you're going to hear a jet taking off all day, but the jet never takes off because it's a generator. Okay, now again, Southern California, we've got this big stripe, and it's pointing up here. So, here's Fresno, and here's Beatty. So in a line between Fresno and Beatty, there's probably an SBX transmitter up there. And those two transmitters are being used to create that extreme area of dry descending air. Right here. They're in a perfect spot for doing that. And I have to also point out that when the sun set and after sunset, these void lines went away. Okay, now this is after sunset, and this is typical of what I've seen of HAARP for months now, in that HAARP cannot transmit at nighttime. They're limited to about 300 miles or line of sight. But during the daytime, the ionosphere is configured with the lenses and mirrors so they can reach out 1,000, even 1,500 miles. So both northern and southern California, those white lines disappeared after dark. That is evidence of HAARP transmitter. So that's the guts of this message here, but I do want to show you the evolution of this low pressure because it's so amazing what they did. This is November 30th, 17 Zulu. This is before the low pressure actually developed. And again, my last video I explained how they've got this distortion in the jet stream, how they held it there week after week. And what's happened apparently is they held it in place too long. And the jet stream built up this low pressure energy which they couldn't control. And so it's either a defect in their computer model, or possibly they made a political decision to let California have some rain, but not irrigation rain. They just want to, let everybody have this PR campaign that, oh, massive, massive rain, and then, you get a half-inch rain, and that impacts the drought zero. The drought will stay in place for who knows how long. In fact, here's your drought map, and that's the current drought map. So you can see if they're trying to maintain the drought, you've got to stop that Sierra snowpack. So this is the interesting part of this video, how they initially tried to prevent this low pressure from spinning up. Here we've got this line of low pressure, and it's concentrated at this end because you have this counterclockwise rotation. So they actually turn on the SBX transmitter and start hitting this area to break this up. We'll step ahead. Now you can see this area is actually getting a HAARP downburst, and they're ignoring this bottom down here. And that's not a good idea because this is the warmest water down here. And this cold, dry air is coming down here, getting exposed to this warm water, which is 60 degrees or warmer. And that's the most likely place to get a high energy, low pressure buildup there. So next, what do we see? They pretty much killed this up here. But suddenly we see this mesocomplex of thunderstorms pop up where the water is warmer. And this becomes the nucleus for an out-of-control low pressure. They try very hard to kill it, and they're not able to. Immediately they do a Haarp downburst on that, but it's too late. Jump ahead. This is about 10 hours later, and look how it's spinning up here. The high pressure here is kind of the low pressure here is too disorganized. They're going to focus on this. But what they really have to worry about is these low pressures spinning off here are going to go over this warmer water. So every one of those gets a Haarp downburst, like right here. Here's this low pressure. Instead of building over the warm water, it's blown apart. And again, here's a crystal clear view of this. I hope you can see that really well. Because up here, nice building low pressure. Down here, blown apart. It's gone. And they're trying to prevent that because this will swing around in a southerly route and wind up dumping huge amounts of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. Okay. This is an extremely abnormal, man-made monstrosity. Nature doesn't do this because the winds out in the ocean are very smooth. There's no turbulence out there. So this is a monstrous thing. And also nature always is going to try and build one low pressure. That's the lowest energy configuration so that all this heat and moisture can seek its lowest energy state. Now what we see, okay, they killed this one. Here's another one they're killing. And eventually we are going to actually see this go clockwise. Absolutely stunning. I'll zoom a little bit more. Okay, so here's a powerful spin here. Low pressures counterclockwise. That's rising air. And, you know, the reason that nature will never make these a separate low pressure, for instance, a hurricane is never going to suddenly split into 3 or 4 pieces, and each spinning vortex goes off its own direction. It doesn't do that because here you have this wind going to the north, and here you have this wind going to the south. They're actually fighting right here. That's not a low energy configuration for Mother Nature, so this is not natural. Okay, now we need to jump ahead a few hours. We're going to see this clockwise rotation. Okay, now this, here they've actually had the Haarp transmitter in one spot for so long it's burned a hole, a dry air hole. And now we see clockwise movement here. We jump ahead, it gets clearer. Okay, now this clockwise movement, particularly these clouds right here, these clouds, that is proof of Haarp downburst. Proof of descending air being pressed down. And I believe it's the SBX transmitter and the 2 land-based transmitters in California. But, you know, many of these Navy ships are now being equipped with these megawatt X-band digital beam-forming flat plate array radars. So, look at this. Look at this cloud right here. This whole thing is moving clockwise right here. But we look at the outside, counterclockwise, underneath counterclockwise, even this little guy here, counterclockwise. Only this right here is moving clockwise. This is high pressure, man-made Haarp downburst air. And any meteorologist, please explain this. Dig through your textbook and find me an example where this can happen in nature. And those of you who know about this and are being quiet, shame on you. It's your job to tell the people about this kind of thing. Okay, so everybody can see that clockwise rotation. There is no doubt about it. There is no natural explanation because we have deep low pressure all the way from sea level all the way up into the jet stream. There is zero natural explanation for this movement right here. And as this, again, see, this was such a big emergency for them. They abandoned their rule book on how to hide this stuff. Or maybe they were hoping that somebody like me didn't see it. Well, it's out there. We need to all know about it. It just looks like a funny weather map, something very odd, but this is an act of genocide. And now we're looking at some of the last maps as it comes on shore. And it's basically showing us what the compromise that they did when they realized it was really out of control. They knew, here's a plume of very humid air that's brought a little bit of rain to Los Angeles. They couldn't help that, but see, that's non-agricultural water. And there's going to be some small amount of rainfall in Northern California. Again, that's not agricultural. The agricultural water is this right here. Actually, you can see this water vapor popping over the mountain tops here. So this is the last view that I have, and you can see how this low pressure has been literally blown apart. Just a hideous, unnatural thing. And this is how they do it. You've got to attack the central low pressure, then Mother Nature. Mother Nature's very determined to bring rain to California, and this is what they've done to her and her effort. So we have central low pressure 2, 3, and what was 1, but it's now been blown apart. Last thing I want to show is the rainfall totals. Here's December 2nd. You know what? I think I should go to this one. No, okay, this one. Okay, this is the rain, December 2nd, 24-hour total before this low pressure came on shore. And we can see a little bit of rain here in the Sierras, a little bit farther south. If we jump ahead 24 hours, here's another 24-hour total. Far up north, but again, this area that needs the rain for Californians to survive and for the vegetable basket of the country to be able to produce anything, almost no precip here. And whereas the coastal area of San Francisco is getting, holy cow, 4 inches right offshore. And LA, of course, is covered over because they have to hide the Baja Haarp transmitter. In case anybody wonders why they've got this stupid scale right over LA and San Diego, it's to hide the Baja Haarp transmitter. Which, sorry, it's down right about here. Right about there. Okay, folks, there's your Haarp report. It's a sad thing to see. I'll go back one more time and show this. You know, also in visible light, we can see this these Haarp attacks happening. Whoops. Here's December 2nd as the sun's going down. Whoops, zoom please. Just for grins, I'm going to show you this. Hey, what the heck is going on here? The browser's about to go belly up, I'm afraid. But here we can see 2 Haarp outflow boundaries expanding outward from this area where they're getting a Haarp downburst. This is totally consistent with the other water vapor maps. And there's so much abundant information or evidence with this particular Haarp attack. But I really want somebody in California to look for those big golf balls on the top of mountains. And then you need to use your state's rights to figure out what the heck they're doing, and if they're participating in this man-made drought, use your state's rights to shut them down. This is a matter of survival for people in California. I hope that some of you can find those things, use Google Maps, whatever, and post some videos, and we'll all watch them with rapt interest. Thanks for watching.